Welcome to Hyperion Gaming. I'm Hyperion, and today's video is a commander review of Minamoto in 2021 and beyond. Is he worth the investment? And if you did invest, should you still be using him? Well, the short answer is yes and no. Let me explain. So, he has a lot of positives. Minamoto is a peacekeeper, a cavalry, and a skill commander. Those are all great things. Because he's a peacekeeper, he's going to hold value for a very long time. But based on the way he's designed, he does not hold up well in the PvP game for a very long time. He's more early game for all aspects, and when you get to the mid to late game, he's more just barbarians, fortresses, objectives, etc. That doesn't mean he's bad. He's one of my favorite commanders, and he's an excellent investment. But he's just not going to be the commander that you go to every day for getting kills on the field. Now, as far as Minamoto is concerned, he's going to be pretty decent with speed because he is a cavalry commander. And like I said, he's good at killing the barbarians, the fortresses. He's great at getting honor. He's great with objectives in KVK. The guy is just pure skill damage. And when you're looking at what it takes, effort or money to expertise, he's one of the least expensive to do that. So he's a fantastic investment on all fronts, except for long game PvP. But then you factor in what it costs to get him expertise, and if you are someone who spends money and you can do that, then it's really hard to deny that Minamoto is a very good investment, even today. Now, as far as his negatives go, we kind of covered them already, but not great for PvP for mid to end game. He's going to be quick to be targeted because he's got really no defense, no healing, no health increases, nothing to really protect him, nothing to pad him. People see Minamoto on the field, they're going to kill him. You better either be faster than the others or leave him at home. And then he's just not a realistic free-to-play commander. When you go to get the sculptures for Minamoto, you get them through the VIP, and that is done by spending real money. So there's no doing an event to get him expertise, there's no wheel, there's no gold key for Minamoto. It's just spending money. His nickname is Moneymoto for a reason. You cannot get him other than VIP chests. So keep that in mind. Now, let's talk about some talent builds for Minamoto. I've got 5 different categories. One of them has 2 variants, whether you want feral nature or not. The first one is going to be for early game. This is good for general use, and when you're in the early game, you got to keep in mind that you're not looking for your peacekeeper stuff so much. Because you just paid for a commander. It's early on. You're not worried about reducing AP. You're not worried about increasing damage to barbarians. You're just looking for kills. And early game, Minamoto is an excellent commander for getting some kills really quickly. He does a lot of damage. So when you're looking at this talent build, you'll notice a few things that maybe some people disagree with. The first is, I'm not using the disarm talent. And you might be thinking, well, why in the world would you do that? Well, I'll tell you. Because if you're using your marches effectively, which, obviously you are because you're a pro and you're only here because you love hearing my voice, then you know that Minamoto is not going to be leading all your marches. He should be in the back. He's one of your DPS. He's not going to be taking hits. You don't need to disarm your talent. Minamoto is not someone who needs to be reducing attack. Sure, reducing attack does reduce counterattack. Yeah, that'll help a little bit, but Minamoto isn't going to thrive there. He needs to be doing skill damage. Put those extra 4 points elsewhere. If you disagree with me, that's fine. Move 4 points into disarm. But I think those points are better used elsewhere. Let's talk about latent power. I think that's a good spot. I got 1 point in march speed from the peacekeeper tree. Much better. But again, if you think those 4 points matter so much, then move them into disarm. The next one is going to be as you've progressed through the kingdom, the timeline, if you will, and you're getting into KVK, and You've got better commanders. Now you need a good commander for killing barbarians and getting honor points in the first KVK. So this next talent build is going to be focused on that. You've already got commanders for PvP. You're not really using Minamoto primary anymore for anything outside of barbarians. So this build is fantastic for just maximizing the damage you can do, maximizing the sustain you can have when you're fighting against barbarians. You could use this for fortresses too, just fine. It'll be decent, but this one is really mostly just for barbarians and gaining honor. The extra speed is very beneficial, and the only point that I would recommend moving if you want to move a point is the single point I have in Trophy Hunter. You can move it around if you want to, you can put it anywhere you wish, but if you're killing a truckload of barbarians and trying to get honor points, you might as well get some resources. I feel putting it in Trophy Hunter makes the most logical sense. But again, this is just my recommendation. If you really feel that that one point is going to change the way you play the game and how effective you are, and you're going to win all these rewards because you moved 1 point, don't let me keep you from that. Move it. And if you find that I am wrong, guess what? Tell me. I'd love to hear about it. I would love to hear your opinions on this. Okay, so now you've made it through your first KVK. You've got even more commanders now, and you're sitting there going, man, I don't really know what to do with Minamoto anymore. Well, some people like to use them really just for fortresses. This is where I disagree. I really don't like using Minamoto for fortresses. And if it was my choice, I would be using a number of other commanders. But if you are one of these people who just have to use Minamoto for fortresses, or that's just your go-to fortress, rallying commander, well, then this talent tree is going to be for you. This one is, you'll see, it dives a little bit into the Peacekeeper tree, but mostly all in on the skill damage or the skill tree. This is a pretty straightforward tree. It's basically just stealing as much DPS as you can. It's got a little bit of march speed out of skill tree, and then a decent amount of march speed out of the Peacekeeper tree. When you're doing a bunch of forts, this is a huge thing to keep in mind, is how fast you get to the fort and how fast you get back so you can rally another fortress. So keep that in mind. But again, if I had my way, I wouldn't use Minamoto for fortresses. I don't, unless I just need an extra commander to rally something with. Otherwise, Double C or a number of other commanders like Ethelfled or whoever, Moctezuma is going to be a much better option. Okay, so now you're even further into the game and you're like, okay, I've got all these commanders. I don't really need Minamoto for fortresses anymore. I can use them for barbarians and honor, but I really just want to use my Minamoto for objectives. Okay, so I've got two builds for this. For when you're in KVK and you just need to take down a holy side or a pass. You don't really use Minamoto much often, other than just barbarians. So what I see is a lot of people debate, is Feral Nature worth using? And so I've got two builds here, one with and one without Feral Nature. And if you just want to do as much skill damage as possible, then the one with Feral Nature is obviously going to be better. And this is going to be even as good as it can be, as long as the rally is getting reinforcements. If your rally is not getting reinforcements, then I would lean more towards the one without Feral Nature, just because it gives you a little bit extra skill damage protection. But otherwise, these are pretty straightforward. I'd say if you have questions about these two talent builds, let me know in the comments. Send me a message. Ask me, what you're getting hung up on. But I feel like these are pretty straightforward. It's just one's going to give you a little bit more protection with the skill damage reduction that you're going to get out of the emblazoned shield from the Calf tree, and the other one is going to be really just all skill damage from the skill tree, a little bit of rage from the Calf tree, some health, and then additional damage to your objectives in the Peacekeeper tree. The final build I have for Minamoto is a fun one. Now this one is controversy all over it. I mean, it's just full of controversy. for multiple reasons. The main ones are going to be, well, first I should say this is a trolling tree. This is a tree for trolls. You know who you are. You guys in the back that you've been waiting for this, maybe farm killers, whatever you want to call it. But this could also be for the people chasing down the farm killers. This is all about speed. And March speed is one of my favorite topics in Rise of Kingdoms, because I don't care how strong you are, I don't care how weak you are, I don't care about any of that. If you're not in a good place and you're slow and I catch you, I'm gonna murder you. It's just gonna happen that way. So March speed is a big deal, because if you can't outrun your enemies well, you're gonna die. It's just the way it is. There's somebody out there who has the free time to chase you down and kill your March. It's just the nature of the game. Okay, so this one is going to be focused all on March speed. You'll notice that I'm getting all the March speed out of the Peacekeeper tree, all the March speed out of the Cav tree, and all the March speed out of the skill tree. And then the extra points I have left over, I'm picking up the talents that are going to be really focused on what you're going to run into when you're hunting down farm killers, or you are actually the farm killer and you're hunting down farmers. You need to reduce their attack because you're more likely in a one-on-one situation. You want to reduce skill damage being done to you, so we have the emblazoned shield from the Cav tree. And one talent that I don't really see a lot of people use, but Equestrian Excellence. It's actually it's kind of like a niche talent. You don't use it very often, but when it does take effect, it pays dividends. What Equestrian Excellence does is normal troop attacks have a 10% chance to increase march speed by 15% for the next 2 seconds. And when that comes into play is you're sitting there attacking a farmer and someone comes up to stop you. It doesn't always take effect because there's only a 10% chance. But if it pays off, they come at you, and as soon as you see that little up arrow with march speed increase, then that's when you get out of there. You move away. But the same thing can work when you're chasing down somebody, because it's normal troop attacks. So if you're hitting somebody and they're trying to get away from you, this can give you a 15% speed boost to help you keep up with them if they're using the mobility tree and they have skills to help them move quicker when they're taking skill damage or whatever. So this is a kind of like a hidden gem that I don't really see a lot of people taking advantage of, but when it comes to just trolling or fighting trolls, it can really help you change the tide of the battlefield. Alright, so these are my builds. Please comment if you have any questions about what you saw in this video. If there's any future content you want, any future talent builds you're interested in, let me know. Please like and subscribe. It means everything to me. It's totally free for you, but it makes the world of difference for me. And I will see you tomorrow with another video for Rise of Kingdoms.